Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. This is my friend Eli.
Yep.
He'll be our guest for today, and as part of our little series that we'll be doing for the rest of the Commander Legends spoilers. If you're new to the channel, this is the Is It League EDH, where I primarily go over red-blue types of strategies and philosophies and kind of synergies and whatnot, just because I am a Is It player at heart. That's what I started off on. It's what I specialize on, so I have the most knowledge about it. But every once in a while, like on days like this for the spoilers, I like to, branch out, talk about some of the new cards coming out for the set, go into the other colors as well, too. Give our takes as to how it might impact the format. Maybe what are some cool combinations that we could think of. For context, Eli is kind of a new player to Magic. And I don't think you haven't seen any of the new cards, right?
I've seen like 3 of them, and they look pretty cool, but nothing too out of this world yet.
Yeah, so he's only seen a handful of cards. So most of the cards we'll be introducing here in the video, he'll be seeing for the first time. So we'll be kind of getting his hot take on it. So
the new players reaction.
So. Yeah, further ado, we'll go ahead and get started because there's quite a lot of cards that came out on the first day. Not nearly as much for the other days, so this will probably be the longer video out of all the videos for the spoiler season. So we're just going to kind of go ahead and jump right into it. So starting off for the day 1 spoilers, we're going to start with the lands. And just with the lands alone, there's already a lot of, I don't know how to say it. I'm really excited for it just because it's really nice. It's something the format's really been needing. Mm-hmm. First one being is Mana Confluence. Okay, now I just told you about this off camera. Yeah. I literally just told him about this off camera, but Mana Confluence is being reprinted in the set. Okay, now for anybody who also might happens to be a new player, maybe just might have just started the game yesterday or something. Mana Confluence has been steadily becoming a more and more expensive card as time has been going on, simply because it just hasn't been reprinted. I don't know, the last time I checked was a hot while ago. It was sitting around $12. I wouldn't be surprised if it's sitting maybe around 15 to 20 now at this point.
I think I was looking on some deck lists and it was pretty up there.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey. I'll probably have the price somewhere here on the screen, post edit. But it's definitely not a card that budget players can really play with these days.
I try to keep my decks really around below the 100 mark. And so Mana Confluence, I see that and I'm like, that's a great quality of life card, but I don't know if I want to drop a 15 on it, that's a no, but it's being reprinted, so thank God.
Yeah, so
that'd be nice.
Especially since it's in a big set like this, where it's basically like a draft set.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully there's enough copies that it significantly goes down in price, at least for now, because it's going to go back up again, given 6 months to a year or something like that.
It's pay 1 life when you already have 40 and add 1 mana. I mean, that's just nice.
It's one of those cards that, especially with the way lands, or not say how the format's going right now, where the format's becoming a lot faster than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I also just mentioned to you off camera was the fact that back in the day, say 5-6 years ago or something, Commander games usually lasted until turn 10, turn 12, where you could actually afford to, mess up a couple turns, dirtle a little bit. Mm-hmm. You can actually play the big, stupid, big drop creatures on curve to hard cast them, not cheat them out some way. You could actually hard cast an Omniscience on turn 10 type of thing. But the format these days are not like that anymore. Games usually last only till turn 7, turn 8 on average for the more synergized decks, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more important these days to have lands that come in untapped compared to tapped. It's also partially the reason why things like guild gates and whatnot typically aren't used nearly as much for the more synergized decks. They don't necessarily need to be at the your deck doesn't necessarily have to be at the level of a CDH deck. But even just like even for like a mid-level deck that's on the higher end, just simply synergized, being able to hit your land drops and play cards on curve tends to be way more important. So Mana Confluence being a reprint is honestly really, really good sign for the set so far.
And it's such an enabler for everything else that your deck wants to do as well. I mean, you drop down on turn 1, you have any color that you want at your disposal. So even if you hit other lands that just aren't going with your plan right now, you just hit a Mana Confluence for 1 life out your 40, and it's just an easy commander.
The 1 life isn't really much of an issue.
No, it's not an issue at all.
Yeah. One thing I did forget to mention at the beginning of the video real quick before we go on to is that for the sake of this video series of the spoiler season, we're not going to really be going over any of the reprints that are being reprinted in the set unless it happens to have some significant value that we feel is worth talking about, like Mana Confluence, for instance. So for the most part, we'll be skipping most of the reprints unless we feel like it's impactful enough to be worth talking about. So with that being said, moving on, the rest of these lands that are being introduced into the set is actually completing a cycle of lands that we first saw in Battle Bond. I don't even know if there's a name for these type of lands. Because like there's things like the shock lands, tri lands, there's the check lands, filter lands. Like usually a bunch of lands with their own unique mechanics have their own name. I don't know if these have a name.
The opponent lands.
I guess these will also kind of be check lands, I guess. Weirdly. But it's the set that they come in untapped unless you unless you have 2 or more opponents. So they're finally completing the cycle of these cards. The other, was it 5, 6 colors of this, which I'm really excited for. So for this set, they're bringing in the white-black version of this, Vault of Champions. We have the green-black, Undergrowth Stadium. We have Training Center, which is red-blue. My personal favorite, not just because I'm an Izzet player, but I just think this is just the best artwork.
Yeah, it looks super. You were telling me about it beforehand, and I was like, that looks really cool.
It just looks so cool. Personally, for me, I'm already gonna get like multiple copies of this card, regardless of the price, just because I know this card specifically is gonna the Simic one, probably the Orzhov one too. I think the popular colors, basically.
I mean, I think they're just good in general because usually when you go into a game, you're gonna be playing with pods, and so it's just kind of like, oh well, it's just a free. You play it down. It's already untapped, so you can just go in and go ham with it.
You're almost always guaranteed to have at least 2 or more opponents. You never really play a commander game 1v1 unless it's just like with a friend and you just want to quit game.
Like on usual, you never really play. If there's a pod open, usually that's the one that you want to go to.
Yeah, typically you end up playing with at least a 3-player pod. In which case, these type of lands are almost always going to come in untapped. So that's kind of what makes them so good. It's kind of why some of the cards from Battle Bond were kind of pricey too. Fortunately, unlike Battle Bond, because of the fact Commander's Legends is going to be an actual draft set, hopefully these versions of the series will be significantly cheaper compared to the Battle Bond series.
Man, cheap lands, they save so much money.
Well, cheaper. I don't know if they'll be cheap, but cheaper. Hopefully, maybe like I wouldn't doubt if maybe they're around $5, which is still better compared to like the 7 to 12 range. You know, it's a little bit more budget, more okay. But anyways, there's also the Boros one as well as the Simic one. Okay, so I'm really excited about these because it's my own personal rule. I just play everything except black.
I was playing one of your Lands Matter decks, and I was like going through it, I was like, well, there ain't really much, there's just basics kind of that are left in here, and I was like, where are the rest of these dual lands? There's like 3 of them in here. Why aren't there? It's just weird that they only print like 3 or 4 duels, and now they're printing the rest of them. That's really strange to me.
Like automatically, once these come out, I'll probably be taking out some of my filter lands for some of these.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely.
Just because I don't really use the filter lands that much. They're just there as
They're
like
just
just
there-
in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. So like that, just the fact I say that, like I'm taking out filter lands for some of these should kind of help give you guys some of the idea of how good these cards actually kind of are. Because there's not a there's not a whole lot of dual lands that come in untapped for free without some sort of cost. Like even the shock lands, for instance, you have to, well, do 2 damage to yourself, shock yourself, in order for them to come out untapped. So it's like, usually a lot of them have some sort of cost needed to do that.
Right.
So cards like this are pretty rare, and you kind of want to pick them up when you can. All right, so enough of the lands for now. We'll go ahead and talk about the multicolored cards for the day 1 spoilers.
Excited.
These ones, some of these are pretty cool. So starting off, we have this one's in what is
Something
this?
foreign.
German or French or something. We have the translation on the side over here. Maybe the post edits I can adjust it on the screen for you guys so you can read it. But this card's name is Wylith, Soul of Steel. He is a Boros commander, legendary creature, human warrior. He costs 1 generic, 1 red, 1 white. He has trample. He's a 2/2 creature, and he says whenever Wylith, Soul of Steel attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to him.
That's really good for Boros. That I've only been playing for a year, so I kind of know like Boros as being the underpowered duo. I know that they suffer in card draw most specifically, so that's super good. That's just good in general, to be honest. Drawing a card for each aura and equipment, because if you want to build this Voltron, it's just every time you attack, you're drawing 4 cards maybe.
Yeah,
if you're
more
Voltron,
maybe.
Yeah, more.
Like
That's on attack, just draw is good enough, but drawing 4, so that's really good.
Yeah, like there's like when I see this card, there's already like a few different ways I think you could potentially want to make the deck. The most obvious one, you could just make it Voltron.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So like you could throw in all the swords to give him protection from like every color if you wanted to. One alternate way you could do it is instead of Voltron, you can make it more kind of a standard Boros deck where you have a bunch of creatures and just a bunch of equipment. Because all you really care about is when, well, I guess I thought he was gonna say you draw a card for each creature that attacks with equipment.
You draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to him.
Yeah, it's just him though,
Yeah,
so that's kind of sucks. But even then, another way you could potentially do this is that instead of making a Voltron, you could just have a bunch of really cheap like 1 mana equipment that do like nothing.
And you just put him on stuff, and then whenever he
one drop equipment that only costs 1 to equip, and it does like nothing.
It's
the
just
same thing
it's
with
just
Auras.
card draw on attack. It doesn't have to do anything. It's just attack.
Just give him a reason to attack and let you draw a ton of cards.
Yeah.
The only thing you would have to be aware of is that he's still attacking, so you would need some sort of protection to protect him about that. So maybe something like a Whisper Silk Cloak or something to make him unblockable would be pretty nice, so he doesn't die during combat.
If you only drew like 2 cards, that wouldn't really be return value on that.
Yeah, so that's the only thing you would have to keep in mind is just keep him alive during combat somehow. So cards like that can kind of give him some sort of evasion during combat would be pretty good. Flying could also be a good way. So I believe there's like I forget what it's called. There's a 0-drop equipment artifact that I think you pay like 1 or something, and it gives the creature flying. That's all it does. It just gives him flying. Just something like that.
Just
it's
the fact that it's equipment too, and not just aura.
Yeah,
that makes it really good.
I feel like this
always on the board.
I feel like this could be one of those commanders for Boros that could actually be a sleeper. Just because if you decide to go that route, where you just have a ton of really cheap equipment artifacts in your deck, you can potentially just explode and draw like a bajillion cards out of nowhere with this guy.
And with the politics, you're just like, oh, can I attack you just like this once?
Yeah.
I'm a Boros player. I'm not going to really do anything.
Yeah, because
I would totally let him attack me because I'm like, what's he going to do against, whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
And then he just drops a couple swords on there and equips them for whatever. It's like, okay. Well.
Yeah. There's that low-key political, psychological aspect that you kind of just mentioned where, like, people will kind of pity you for just playing Boros in the first place.
Right.
So they might not even attack you when you play. They probably should have. So you can just come out of nowhere and just, like, take him out.
I love politics in Commander. That's my favorite part of it. So if I was playing Boros, I'd be like, It's like 4 cards. I'm not gonna draw really even much to begin with, so just these 4 cards, I'm good.
Yeah. So
And it's like, okay, well, it's like what, 2 damage, 3 damage.
Yeah, I wouldn't see this as being honestly not a bad Boros commander.
Not bad, not overpowered.
If you're not playing feathered, like this could be a very feasible deck in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, on to the next multicolored card. We have Nimris Una's Trickster.
I can't read that.
Okay, hold on real quick. Well, I'll say it all out too. So this is what is this? Dimir. This is a Dimir commander. It's a legendary creature, fairy knight. First combination I've seen of that type. Costs 5 mana, 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 black. Has flash and flying. It has 1 power, 6 toughness, which is kind of beefy.
It's pretty cool.
And his ability says, whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the other into your graveyard.
That's interesting.
Let me hear your take on that first.
So that's the first spell each turn?
First spell during each opponent's turn.
I feel like, you're going to get, if you play a lot of instants or whatever, flashes, you're going to get, I think, 3 cards at max during the rotation. I think that's a good 99 card. I'm not sure that's a good commander, though. Just because I think... Because you have to be playing spells every single turn on opponent's turns. No, that's a 99 card, and I don't even know if I'd really dip into that. I think that's too big brain for me if I'm gonna even try to build around that.
All right,
that's okay.
So, from my perspective, and in case this wasn't already apparent, I've been playing Magic for a good number of years now at this point. So I'm pretty well versed in like the different types of like stuff that you can do. But this commander reads to me. There's a few problems with this commander. The biggest one to me, in my opinion, is its mana cost. It's 5 mana to play this.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see the 5 mana yet. Yeah. That changes it.
The ability is honestly not too bad in my opinion. I think it's pretty decent. The problem is that the power level of the ability that you're getting in comparison to its mana cost are kind of conflicting, because you have this 5 normally once, especially with how the format's going right now, like I mentioned earlier, format's a lot faster. Games typically end by turn 7, turn 8 at this point now. That by turn 5, if you're paying 5 mana for something, it usually needs to be something impactful,
some big drop that you're putting on the board, something
that like gives you some burst immediately if possible
to catch up, really.
Yeah.
And
like it needs to be worth paying almost your entire turn out of one of the 7-8 turns of the game to be worth playing it. And for this type of ability to me, in my opinion, would be more worth like a 3, maybe 4 at most mana.
It's just the fact that for me it says the first spell on each of your opponent's turns. Because the fact that you get 3 cards off of that turn cycle, that's good and all, but 3 are going to your graveyard and 3 going to your hand, so you're cycling through that deck, and it's not a good cycling either, to me at least.
Well,
it seems like the ability, like you just said, it's 5 mana, and it's just kind of like, okay, well I'm gonna cycle 3 cards and put 3 in my graveyard.
Well,
yeah.
Remember you're playing blue-black, so like.
Usually you can do it in the graveyard, but it
just
typically seems like your return investment isn't really...
So like the way you would build this deck, in my opinion, is you would play it in a control aspect. So what you would typically do is you would play your lands. Mm-hmm. Most of your deck would have flash or be instant speed. So you would just play your lands and just pass your turn.
Oh, right. And then
just play everything on your opponent's turns.
But even that, I think there has to be a better commander for that.
Even just simple stuff like counter spells.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing blue, so I guess counter spells.
Yeah, counter spells
just counter spells alone.
Or destruction.
Counter spells, instant speed removal.
Yeah.
Those are just staples in any sort of deck with these colors in the first place. You have black for the removal, blue for the counter spells. Blue has a lot of flash as well, so you can easily make this like an instant speed type deck, where you can easily get the triggers as often as possible.
Right. And I just feel like
And
the
just,
return value of drawing 3 cards and then putting 3 in the grave, I don't think there has to be a better commander for doing instant speed stuff like that. To me, at least.
you're probably right. You're probably right.
I think this is a much better card than 99 than anything.
Yeah.
To put in an instant speed deck.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It seems cool. It seems okay.
Yeah. Just for the mana cost, I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, 5 mana is definitely not.
5 mana for this type of ability is
not
not
what I
worth
would,
it,
it's not
as a
what I would
commander at least. If it was maybe like 3 mana, around 3 mana, then it would be a lot better. It would be more playable, in my opinion. Yeah. Anyways, next up, we have... This is a reprint, and this actually signals a lot of stuff.
This card.
Vile Smasher the Fierce. Now, this is, like I said, this is a reprint. This goes all the way... This is a reprint from the 2016 Commander sets. Probably by far one of the best Commander sets so far, in my opinion. That was the same year that Atraxa came out. Kanios and Tiro, which is one of my main decks right now too. Kind of busted.
What's the deck?
The Gay Bros one.
Oh yeah, that one's great. That's so good.
It's so good. I'm literally gonna. I was planning to have a video talking about just Kanayo and Tiras later on the channel, just because I personally feel like out of all of the 4-color commanders, not counting partners that came out that year, that was probably the most sleeper that people are kind of missing on.
Just the value.
It's just
I played it the other day and I was like, I had so much gas and I was like, I don't know what I can do with this, but I'm doing stuff.
I'll probably give like a deck tech of my personal deck on Kanios and Tiro, because it's just so busted if you build it right. And I'm not talking about making a group hug deck, which is what typically people associate that commander with being group hug. I don't make my group hug. Mine's non-group hug, but people think it's group hug,
especially if
they sleep on you while you're playing, and then you come out and you just like wreck him. Like, I thought this was group hug, and it's like, I never said it was.
If you preference it with the politics and say, oh yeah, it's just group hug, sure, that's like unsportsmanship because you're completely lying about what the deck does. But then they sleep on it, and then you have an explosive turn with the 10 lands you've built up within turn 3, 4. And you just come out the gate with just everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm planning to have a different video about Kanios Tiras. But at the very least, for Vile Smasher the Fierce, this is a very good sign that they're probably looking to reprint all of those original first set of the partner commanders that came into the 2016 commander sets. In which case, if they do, I would be so happy, just because every single one of those cards are starting to get really expensive now.
Oh, yeah.
Some more than others. Even what probably a good portion of the community considered to be the worst, or the bad ones, even those are getting kind of pricey at like $6-7 a pop. Which back then they were only like a few cents when they first came out, because no one liked them. I think it was like what's his name? There's like a Boros one that's like, it gives one creature double strike or something.
Oh yeah.
Which like back then for 4 mana it was like terrible. But right now that's like, there's so many busted cards in the format that like you can really just take away with that.
Coming into the format, I played Commander first. I had my world crushed like every game I played, because I got brought in pretty hard.
Yeah.
But I got brought in and I was like, oh, so these 1-drop commanders, they're pretty cool. And then I saw that partner is 2 commanders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just adaptability. That's so much adaptability. You can just do whatever with that. So I personally like partner commander. I haven't built a deck with them yet, but when I see one, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a really interesting game.
One of these days, I'm still looking for an opportunity. This is kind of off topic, but I'm still looking for an opportunity to make a partner's commander with a companion.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
One of these days.
So 3 commanders?
Yes, you basically have like...
That'd be so interesting.
Like a pet. Well, yeah, a pet companion.
Yeah.
But one of the, I'm just waiting for an opportunity to do that.
You'll have it. They're going to reprint these probably.
It's just the companion restrictions are just a little too restricting to make a deck good. Yeah. You're typically losing out too much when using companions. Anyways, that's off topic. Going on to the next thing. All right, so I'm looking forward to the reprint of those. I know you're looking forward to this one.
This card, it just screams. I personally love Orzhov and there's aristocrat plays. And so this card, it's an angel, it has aesthetic, and then the fact that you get to pay life instead of the, So can you pay life for the regular 2 cost right there?
No, but
we're a big bummer.
We're getting carried on. Let me read the card real quick. So her name is I think Liza Shroud of Dusk. I don't know how you pronounce that. Legendary creature Angel. It's a 5/5 creature. Costs 5 mana to play. It's 2 generic, 2 white, and a black. Her ability says, rather than paying 2 generic mana for each previous time you've cast this spell from the command zone this game, pay 2 life that many times. She has flying and lifelink, and she also says whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life.
Mind if
well, let me answer your question, I guess, first. Yeah. So what Eli was asking about in regards to the first ability is, so normally when a commander goes back to the command zone and you cast it again, and it's been cast for the command zone a previous amounts of times, it costs 2 generic mana each time for each extra time you've cast it for command zone. So the first time you cast it, because that was the first time, it costs 0. Second time you cast it, it costs 2 more. Third time you cast it, it costs 4 more. Next time, 6 more. Okay, so
it's a tax.
Yeah, so it's a tax, the commander tax. Okay, so Liza over here makes us that instead of paying that two extra generic mana, you're paying 2 life instead. So instead of paying that 2, you pay 2 life. Instead of paying the 4, you pay 4 life. Instead of paying the 6, you pay the 6 life. So to answer your question about whether or not that applies to the 2 generic mana that's in her mana cost, it does not.
Oh, big nah.
Because it only says 2 for each previous time you've cast this from the command zone this game.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking have a 5-drop just with 3 mana.
Yeah, so it doesn't say
ridiculous.
anything about her specific mana cost, so it doesn't apply to that.
So going on with... So when I look at her, I get giddy. And I think, okay, so Kumbal is like super cool.
Fuck Kumbal, man.
Dude, Kumbal is so cool. So he limits the board, right? He limits all players on what they can do because no one wants to pay 2 life and then have the other person gain 2 life. This is whenever they cast a spell. That's so limiting. If you want to go off with your Gaebros deck,
yeah,
that's so limiting.
Yeah, Kumbal really puts a thorn in some people's side.
And that's just for non-creature spells. This is every single spell you cast.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, this hits you too.
Yeah, right. But
if you're playing Orzhov, you're probably gaining life anyways.
I was about to say you're gonna gain life with this deck is what I would do, and then
she has lifelink and she's a 5/5.
Right, Sanguine, and then some other stuff, and
chances are this is not hitting you nearly as much as it's hitting everybody else.
Because you're not gonna go off. You're just gonna pop her in and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna just pillow for a little.
Yeah,
and just aristocrat.
You could easily make this some sort of life tax deck.
I would love to.
So you know my Torbrand deck where I made it like a burn tax deck? Just do that with Orzhov.
Do that with Orzhov. That'd be so interesting, yeah.
In case some of you don't understand what we were just talking about, okay. I have a Torbrand deck.
This deck is dumb.
I have a Torbrand deck because Torbrand says whenever a red source I control deals damage to an opponent, it does 2 extra damage. So I just have a bunch of cards that do damage to every player just for playing the game, like Mana Barbs, for instance. Whenever you tap a land, you take 1 damage. But with Torbrand out, it says whenever an opponent taps a land, they take 3 damage instead. So I have a bunch of cards like that just tax you for playing the game in the form of burn. So you could easily make Liza over here in the same way, just an Orzhov version of that. Just have a bunch of life tax cards like Kumbal that whenever the opponent plays the game or takes some sort of action, they have to pay life. Actually, Norn's Anix would actually be pretty good in here.
Because no one's going to attack you
because you're constantly draining them, yeah.
Kumbal and Liza and just different demons that tax, and then I'm already...
This is what I'm
building an Edgar Markov deck right now, but I really want to go Liza.
Scrap the Markov deck,
I'm scrapping the Markov.
Make this.
This is so much more interesting to me.
Oh, this is just gonna be nasty. Imagine playing against this and Torbrand at the same time.
Oh my god, we gotta do that on pod because that's gonna be
the game would end so fast.
I might just scrap the Edgar whenever she comes out.
That's gonna be so dirty.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, this is definitely. I feel like this is definitely gonna be like a hot Orzhov card.
I really hope it sleeps too, so when I drop it, everyone's like, "Oh," but it's not gonna sleep.
So dirty.
It's so good.
Okay, next card. Yeah. All right. So next up, we have Azai, Tyrant of the Epicycle Strait.
That's so cool.
It's such a weird ass name. I'm not sure if that translation is correct or not. You guys see the original spoiler for it, which is like, I don't know, in German or something. I don't know. Anyways, it's a Simic commander, legendary creature Serpent, 5 power, 5 toughness, costs 6 mana, 4 generic mana, 1 green, 1 blue. And it says you may play an additional land during each of your turns. And also says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card.
Oh, Simic with this. I when I see this, that gets me giddy because that's just straight value. I mean, you play 2 lands per each of your turns, or just an additional land, so usually 2, and then you get to draw a card off of that. So you play cards that I don't know names, but you play cards that make you play an additional land. So it's just you draw like 2 cards at least per turn. It's crazy. That's super cool. I like that.
Abilities alone, I agree. It's kind of busted. Like you're getting rewarded for just playing the game, basically.
Plus, you drop it
for just doing a normal action.
You drop it, it's like, now I'm playing 2 extra lands.
Yeah,
like,
so
okay,
it's kind of gross, especially when you take things like fetch lands into account.
Oh my god!
You can literally play a fetch land, draw a card, sack it to get another land, draw a card, play the second land for turn, draw a third card. Imagine if that second land's also a fetch land. Crack it,
God.
Get another land, draw a card.
And then you have other cards, and because Simic is just the good stuff.
Yeah,
combo,
so it's like
you just have other big shit that you can just play.
Now, one thing I will say though is the fact that I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I can't think of the card off the top of my head, but I know it exists. Mm-hmm. There's a card that does the second part already, that whenever a land hits a bit of a field, you draw a card.
I've heard of that card, yeah.
Yeah. And it costs less mana.
Oh, yeah?
So the only thing is, I don't remember if it's legendary or not. But if it is, you would just rather play that instead of this.
I think the additional land though is pretty.
But it's 6 mana.
It is 6 mana, yeah.
The only thing that I would say it makes this like, how should I say, compensates for that cost is the fact you're playing Simic, so you would probably be playing quite a good amount of ramp in your deck to be able to play this on earlier turns. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have enough low drop ramp cards so that you can easily, reliably play this card by, like, turn 4 or something, then this could be decent. Pretty good. Okay? But the problem is, too, that I see is that so much of your deck is going to end up being, like, ramp.
And relied on this
and
card.
You're probably going to have...
When this thing drops, someone's going to just immediately get
rid of you'll probably end up having a slightly higher land count than normal, too. That's, like... I feel like at that point, most of your deck is ramp and lands that... only a small portion of your deck is going to be actually the stuff you need. I feel like you're going to end up dirtling.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because what's the point in putting the big stuff in there if you just don't draw it?
Yeah, so I personally feel like that if you really want to play this card, I would personally put this in the 99 just because of the fact that
99.
That'd
be so
just
nice.
Because so that way you can have a commander that actually has a specific goal in mind they're trying to do, and this just helps facilitate that and like help amplify, get there faster, instead of having it as the actual commander. Plus, if I can actually find that card, I'll have it up on the screen post production if I can find it. If you have that other card, you're just probably better off just playing that other card instead, anyways.
Yeah. When we met, Brian really taught me you have to have a goal in mind with your commander. If you don't, then it's just kind of like, well, why are you even like playing that commander? You can play some other commander and then have this card in the 99. That's definitely, I feel that. Yeah,
if you don't have a goal in mind, you're kind of just dirtling a good portion of the time.
Yeah.
Just trying to finagle a win con. Like, that's like the experimental stages when you're first starting off. You're kind of throwing the...
Like this like spits to me, oh, it's just so much value, but then it's like, oh, what's the win con with it? You're going to go infinite? Okay.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can really see you doing with this deck is if you do have all the ramp and all the land, you would have to go through some sort of landfall strategy. But even then, that's still kind of limited just because, again, most of your deck is lands and ramp.
Right.
It's like, if you don't hit those landfall cards or they get removed like immediately, you're kind of a sitting duck.
Right, definitely.
So you need something to take advantage of it.
I think it's a fun commander, but definitely what you said. in the more not competitive, but in the more like
synergistic
against more synergistic decks, I think it definitely will falter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's not as good as people might make it out to be.
Although it reads really well.
Yeah, it seems like a cool card at first, but in retrospect, it's probably not as good as you think it is. As a commander, at least.
Yeah, 99 definitely.
Yeah, 99 could probably work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next up, now that we're done with the multicolor cards, we'll go over the colorless cards.
Oh, yay.
So these are primarily like artifact creature type stuff.
Yeah.
So let's get started with the first one. This one's actually kind of cool. It's called Blade Griff Prototype. There we go. It's a 5-drop artifact creature, colorless. It's a 3 power, 2 toughness, has flying. It's an artifact creature, Griffin. Huh. And it says whenever Blade Griff Prototype deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-land permanent of that player's choice that one of your opponents controls.
I really like this.
So just to kind of explain this real quick, because I know it has some weird wording that might be a little confusing. If I control Blade Griff Prototype and I attack Eli over here, okay, and it connects, and I deal damage to him, okay, what happens is he then gets to pick a non-land permanent that I don't control and blow it up. So he blows up one of my opponent's permanents.
This is a politics creature, and I like it, because you'll be swinging in, it's like, oh, well, just, if you let me deal this 3 damage to, it's commander damage, but, it's not going to get that big. And then they just either blow up something else that you're worried about. And then I would be really evil and just put artifacts in this deck, just put them on the field, just be like, oh, it's not going to really do anything, and then have it unblockable and just swing to kill. Oh, that's so cool. I like that. That's a lot of interaction. I like that. I dig it a ton. It's not like really competitive, but
I definitely feel like this is one of those cards that's actually a lot better than people probably give it credit for. Just because of the fact that, and this is the type of card too that kind of scales politically, scales according to like how experienced the players are in your pod. The more experienced players are definitely going to take out the biggest threat for you with this ability. Whereas with the more inexperienced players, you can maybe politic your way into leading them to blowing up something you don't want.
Of course. Last night I was against an Esper Aetherflux Reservoir. She could just kill the whole, she could kill someone on the board instantly. Having this card just being like, well, I'm just going to swing at him, and he has to choose.
He has the pick.
He would choose the Aetherflux, of course, and then, she would just blow him up, because what else are you going to choose? Else?
Technically, she could just choose to kill you, because if she kills you, that ability goes off the stack.
Oh.
So it wouldn't work in that situation.
Big bummer.
Still
a really good card, though.
Yeah, it's still a really cool card, and it's only 5 mana. It can go in literally every single deck because it's colorless. So I feel like this could actually be a pretty good card, especially in artifact-specific decks, because they typically have ways to make artifacts cheaper or bust them out quicker. If you can get this card out on like turn 4, turn 3.
Oh, you can easily do that with Colorless.
You can easily do that in a mono blue artifact deck.
Oh.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. There's a lot of cards that like create 3 mana but can only be used for artifacts. Stuff like that.
Oh, it's not legendary.
It's not legendary.
Oh, okay.
So it has to go to 99.
I thought it was a commander. No. In 99 though, that's still really good.
Yeah, no, it's like this could in a mono blue artifact deck or something of that sort, artifact matters type deck. This could easily be a pretty good card, especially if you make copies of this card.
Oh my god!
And then you just have it swing at everybody, and now everybody has to blow up everything else's stuff except yours. It's just
it just disrupts the board. It makes it because everyone forms alliances and stuff.
Do you know what Myriad does?
Myriad what? Landscape or
no? It's a mechanic. It's called Myriad.
No.
Oh my god! If you give this creature Myriad, ooh. So good. Okay, so Myriad is a mechanic that says when the creature with Myriad attacks an opponent, you create a copy of that creature attacking every other opponent too.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that effect. Oh my god.
So there's an equipment called Blade of Selves, which gives the creature Myriad. Okay, so you equip that something give like this creature Myriad. Let it smack everybody, and now everybody has to blow up each other's stuff except yours. And you're kind of just sitting here like, this is great. Just enjoying the chaos.
Oh, and it says that your opponent controls. So you're totally safe from it.
Yeah, no one can target you.
Good. Oh, especially when you're like a 3-pod.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's just instant blood feud right there. That's great.
Yeah, so I feel like this is definitely one of those cards that, like, in the right decks is actually pretty good.
I love that card just in a deck.
Yeah.
Like even it wouldn't synergize at all with Lisa, but putting it in that deck, it's just more politicking for me.
Technically, too, if you're running some sort of there's like Boros decks, for example. They have like they'll, depending on the deck, they'll have cards that let them get like maybe not infinite combats, but like multiple combat steps.
Oh yeah.
That like untap, let you attack.
I've seen that happen.
If you run this and those type of decks, you can easily blow up like multiple things.
Just give it unblockable, and it's just like, well, okay, that's just happening every.
Yeah.
combat.
So I definitely feel like in the right decks, this is actually a pretty good card. Pretty good card.
And it's great because it's not competitive. It's just a great. Fun
It's just
card.
a fun, dirtily card that like just
like that.
happens to give
Absolutely
you
love cards
value.
like that.
So definitely feel like this has some worth. Probably wouldn't be best to put in every single deck.
No.
Maybe for a casual beginner player or something, this is a fun card to play with. But in specific types of decks, this could actually be not broken, but like a step below that, where it's like it's getting more than your value's worth.
I'd love to mimic that and then just create a fuck ton of them.
That'd be great. That's hilarious.
That'd be awesome.
All right, next up, next colorless card, we have Maelstrom Colossus. This one I find really interesting.
Oh.
It's an 8-cost artifact creature golem, 7 power, 7 toughness, and it only does one thing. It just cascades.
It just cascades.
That's all it does.
And Cascade itself is just really good, in my opinion. I don't think for the 8 cost,
I agree cascading is good. But
yeah.
compared to cards like
the Maelstrom.
Maelstrom.
Yeah, Maelstrom's just great.
It's not nearly as good. I
No,
feel like I feel like you only play this card if you don't have Maelstrom.
Right. It's just. If
We're
you
talking
don't
about
have
Maelstrom Wanderer, by the way.
Yeah, Maelstrom Wanderer was great. That was like one of my first. I played Standard a little, just a little when I was beginning, and Maelstrom Wanderer was like a whole Chaos deck. So cool. But Maelstrom Colossus, I mean, it's just, if you get it and you're just a beginning player and you're like, well, I need a Cascade in this deck for it to kind of be a chaosy type thing.
Yeah.
It's a 7/7 8 cost Cascade. It's okay. It's alright. The 8 cost is really. The 8 cost is really not.
In a synergized like environment, like I'm not talking yeah, so like if you're playing in a very like experienced play group, this is not going to hold up.
Oh, no.
It's just too slow.
That's a casual card.
You have to hard cast this too in order to get the Cascade, and in which case it's like...
Oh, right, because you can't even cheat it out.
Yeah, if you cheat it out, you won't get the Cascade trigger, because you have to cast it.
I've done that like twice, and you've always called me, you're like, nope, you can't Cascade. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
God.
So it's...
It's
this is
fine
literally like
for
this is like a budget card if you don't have the expensive
never
cards.
Stand up in competitive or not competitive, just in synergistic.
Yeah, it's like if you don't have Maelstrom Wanderer, you could play this. It's nowhere near as good, but it's kind of a replacement. The only thing worth noting, I guess, about this is that it's a common, so you could play it in Pauper, but that's like it. That's like it.
It's like literally.
That's like it.
Or like if you had like a big Eldrazi deck. No, because
I mean, you could
yeah,
play.
like a bunch of
you can
ramp
put it
in
in
there.
you can put in a colors Eldrazi deck. So
I
I
mean,
guess,
like an Emrakul deck, and you just have
Yeah,
a bunch of ramps.
that's
All
like
well,
the
I'm just gonna
only-
play this, and something else is gonna get.
that's
on
like the
board.
only deck where you could actually like argue putting this in.
Even then, though, what good Eldrazi is gonna cost 8 mana?
There's actually a few.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know much about. I love Eldrazi's, but I don't know much about.
This might actually
the
be worth
smaller ones.
playing compared to some of the eight drops.
Okay.
Yeah, depends on how you build your deck though.
Mhm.
Anyways, though, next up we have Phyrexian Triniform. I'm not a big fan of this card, but we'll go over it real quick. It's a mythic, which I think is kind of worse. The fact how bad it is, in my opinion. It's a 9-drop artifact creature golem, though. Has 9 power, 9 toughness, and it says when Phyrexian Triniform dies, create 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens. And it's introducing a new mechanic for the set called Encore. You can pay 12 mana to use the Encore mechanic. And Encore says you exile this card from your graveyard. For each opponent, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn. If able, they gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. So, just to kind of go over what this does, when it dies, you get three tokens. Okay, if you pay the Encore cost, which is 12 mana in this instance, you get. If you have 3 opponents, you'll get 3 copies of this card, tokens of this card, attacking them. Okay, so you have 3 9/9s attacking each of your opponents. When they, at the end of the turn, they sacrifice them, so they actually die again, and you'll get 3 more 3/3 tokens for each token. So you could potentially have a total of what, like 12 3/3 tokens?
In a 4-pod, it'd be 12.
Yeah, in a 4-pod.
Aside from like sacrifice fodder, that 12 cost, because I was like, okay, well, Encore seems pretty cool. It's a 9 cost, and then you get that Encore trigger. That's 12 mana. Good God, that's 21 mana on a card.
It's too much.
And that's just for 3/3s. They don't have trample or
no keywords at all. They don't have any abilities. They're just tokens.
Nah.
It's too much mana. Even if you're playing in an artifact deck that like gives you a ton of mana for artifacts, that's still too much.
No,
that's literally an entire turn's worth.
I'd rather
put
the golem in the deck.
Yeah, not gonna lie.
It's sad because I saw that Phyrexian title word and I was like, oh yeah, because I love Phyrexian mana. Is so interesting to me.
I think the only reason you would put this in the deck is if you have a way to repeatedly bring it back from the grave for free,
right.
Like cheat it out from the grave or something.
Then it's just sacking.
And you have some sort of sack.
See, then it's good
Generator.
Then I like it.
Yeah, unless you have something specific like that you can make it broken, kind of like you would for a what's that like worm engine called?
Turn coil.
Worm coil engine or something like that.
Worm coil engine. That's what it is.
Yeah, unless you have some sort of combo that would work for a worm coil engine to make it work for this guy too. It's not really worth it in my opinion.
I mean, because you'd have to bring it back, then sack it to an altar or something, and then you get 3/3s,
and have another way to keep bringing it back.
And then you'd have to bring it back again. I mean, if you're doing that, they might as well just get a worm coil with keywords on the 2 creatures.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
unless
too expensive.
But if you're cheating it out, the cost doesn't matter. In which case, you'd be going more with a go wide strategy.
If you're
I get what you're saying.
If you're gonna do that, then
I get what you're saying. Like having the keywords is still better, especially if Death Touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
Because you have adaptability with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of. It's just too expensive.
Unless you have a way to specifically take advantage of his mechanic over the worm coil engine. Yeah.
And there's probably some like niche ways that you can do it, and
Maybe.
we're not. I'm not trying to say that those are bad. I'm just saying, like, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything.
All right, so that's it for the colorless cards, and now we're actually going to be going into the actual colored cards for day 1. So first of all, we'll be going with black cards.
Double yay!
So, yeah, Eli's excited. First of all,
let's go! Is it getting reprinted?
Yeah, they're reprinting Vampiric Tutor.
It's not gonna cost $20 anymore.
Yeah,
$30 or something.
This should go without saying. It's probably one of the most expensive black tutors in the format.
It's just a 1-drop for anything. It's like 2 life.
It's a staple, just like like Mystical Tutor is a staple for blue, Enlightened Tutor is a staple for white. It's just a staple for black, and it's probably the most expensive staple tutor card in the format. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah, so the fact it's getting reprinted is actually a pretty big deal, especially in a big set like this where it's actually more accessible compared to most other sets. Like Jumpstart was supposed to have like a bunch of reprints, which technically it did, but because there's so little that set, in many regions, they haven't even gotten their Jumpstart stuff yet. Yeah, Yikes. They're still waiting for their Jumpstart. They haven't even gotten it. So to them, it might as well not even came out.
I mean,
so it's like, unlike Jumpstart, this is actually supposed to be like a actual big legitimate set. So if
we get reprinted a bunch because that'd be great.
I wouldn't doubt it if this card goes down to like maybe $12 instead of what you said, 20.
Oh, well, I was saying 20 because that's why I see all expensive cards. This thing is like 30 or 40.
Wherever this is
stupid.
I wouldn't doubt it if it goes down a good chunk.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would go down to 20.
It's still going to be expensive, but not as expensive.
It's a 1-mana tutor. I don't know I don't know how much better you can get with that.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and
That's
it's
very
at
good.
instant speed.
It's just super.
You can't
good.
beat it. It's pretty
No.
good. All right, so next up, just kind of tagging this on before I go on to the next one. Like, there's a lot of really nice reprints like this that like signal that this is definitely going to be a really good set.
Especially for Commander. I mean,
It's a Commander set.
Legends, but like it's really gonna like impact the prices. 'Cause
Yeah,
I like building cheap.
I told you this before already off camera, but like I already pre-ordered like 2 boxes at like the standard like $100-ish price,
Right.
just because the fact that like I already can tell that this set is probably gonna get more like the price for the boxes are probably gonna go up a lot more as the spoilers continue.
That unboxing is gonna be so sweet.
That like I feel like it's better if I just lock in my low prices right now before they
Definitely.
spike, just because especially not only for the
Especially with
reprints,
Vampire
for the
being in
just
there.
the reprints alone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good needed reprints in this set, not counting the new broken cards that are in this set too. That like so anyways, next card, we have one of the first Planeswalkers spoiled for the set. This is one of the Planeswalkers that was spoiled in that whole controversy that got stolen from the warehouse or something.
They raided the warehouse. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
this is one of the commanders. So it's called Tevash Zat, Doom of Fools. It's a 5-drop black, mono black planeswalker for 4 generic mana and 1 black. Comes in with 4 loyalty, and he has 3 abilities. His +2 ability creates 2/0/1 black Thrall creature tokens, and we haven't seen Thrall in like years.
Yeah, I thought it was
Years. No, it's an old ass mechanic.
just now. Nice.
Like this is like Thralls were like one of like the original like creature tokens in the early sets.
Good to see you come back then.
Yeah,
so
his +1 ability says you may sacrifice another creature or planeswalker. If you do, draw 2 cards, then draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was a commander. -10, gain control of all commanders. Put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. And he also has partner. And he can be played as your commander.
Oh my God, that is awful.
Yeah, that -10 is kind of scary.
That -10 is really good.
That 10 is scary.
I'd play him in proliferate deck and just pop him off in like 1, 2.
Like
Oh,
playing him as your commander, I'm like, all right, that's cool. But he has partner.
So
You can slap on some dual color partner with him, make him 3 color, or just another partner in general, make him 2 color. Make a 2 color deck with this. 2 or 3 colors.
just the mono black, just without even being a partner, he's good.
Here's the worst part. If you partner this with a blue partner,
Yeah.
blue has some of the best steel stuff in the game.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
So you just make it a giant steel deck with like proliferate or something.
Get a Begalia Wills in there, and then get just crazy stuff that just steals for whatever amount of time.
Even worse, if you put green into it, you can actually play a crap. What was that?
Proliferate?
No, the doubling season.
Oh God! Oh God! You would reach his thing.
Doubling season with proliferate cards from like all the blue, because I think blue has the most proliferate cards in the game. So you just have green for like the doubling season and maybe ramp or whatnot. Blue for a bunch of proliferate. Black just does black stuff.
You put Thraxos as
You could easily steal people's stuff with the blue. This guy could just come in and steal everybody's commanders.
The fact that he steals it from the command zone, that's dirty.
That is so dirty.
Like, I play Analyst, so she just stays in the command zone. He's a threat.
Yeah,
my entire deck's just shut off if she's out of there.
I will tell you immediately, the moment I see someone playing Tevesh, I feel like you're immediately become a threat. No one's going to want to let you get to that -10.
It's like if you get, it's like if you commander with the Emrakul or something, you're just immediately going to be targeted because it's such a big high target card.
Yeah.
And it affects everyone too. It's not selected. It's just all commanders.
Yeah, you just get all commanders.
Are just there, and then you can sacrifice them if you want to, or you just keep them and pillow fort. Like
even worse, if anybody's playing partners, you steal those too.
Oh God, you get so much value. That's one of the only planeswalkers I've seen that you would really want to proliferate.
Yeah, this is one of those cards where like you're probably never going to get that -10 just because of how focused you're going to get as soon as you play this. Unless you have a specific way to cheat your way to that -10.
Oh, and there's so many cards you can do it with.
Yeah, so definitely a scary card. Don't expect to be targeted immediately when you play this. Just keep that in mind. So,
oh my gosh.
Next up, we have Sazat's Will. This is a unique card. It's a black instant, mono black instant for 5 mana, 4 generic mana, and 1 black. It says it has 2 modes, and it says choose one of the modes. If you control a commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both. Okay, now keep in mind it says choose if you control a commander. So it doesn't have to be your own commander.
Yes, this is that.
So if you steal somebody else's commander, you get both of these modes. Now, the first mode says each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the greatest power. Ooh, that was my phone. Second mode says exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards, then create X01 black throw creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among creatures exiled this way.
I like Thralls. Coming back.
Thralls are a cool creature type. And I believe there's some cards that actually interact with specifically Thrall.
Oh, that's cool. You'll see decks like that then.
Yeah,
Definitely.
but again, those were from like really old sets.
Oh yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of them. Thrall was never really able to take off just because never actually like made more of them.
Mm-hmm. Good sacrifice starter though.
Next up, we'll be going over the green cards. Now, there's only one green card for day 1. This is Self-Mutilating Hydra, which I'll be pulling up on the side. Again, I'll try to have the translation up post edit if possible.
Whoa.
Okay, so this is a creature Hydra. It's a 1/1 creature, and it costs X green. So the mana cost is technically 3, but you can pay X to make it as big as you want. And his ability says when Self-Mutilating Hydra enters the battlefield, distribute X amount of 1/1 counters. +1/+1 counters, between it and any number of commanders.
What screams to me is I was playing like an Earl deck the other day, Phil's deck at the shop.
I don't think I've played against his Earl deck.
Oh, it's like a $25 deck. It's super cheap. But man, having that on the field, just popping that off because Grant has a ton of ramp.
Yeah.
Popping that off and just being like, okay, well now Earl's like, within commander kill range.
Yeah.
So, just swing. That just seems pretty cool. I like that. It's not like really awesome, but I totally dig it.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay in just a random deck. I feel like the only way this would really get value is if you play it in a deck that cares about specifically +1/+1 counters.
Mm-hmm.
There are some Abzan decks, for example, that care about that. There are some Abzan partner commanders that specifically care about +1/+1 counters. This would be the type of card that you might want to throw in a deck like that.
And again, it's only between itself and then commanders, though.
Maybe in a Voltron deck, this might be something you care about. It would depend on the Voltron, though, because it's very possible that you wouldn't want to spend a whole lot of mana on this card just to play it. Keep in mind that you're splitting the +1/+1 counters between this creature and your commanders that you control. Actually, it just says any number of commanders. So you don't even need to control the commander. You can give it to somebody else's commander if you want, but chances are you're not going to want to do that.
Well, can't you just pay 3 mana and then pay like 5 for X? If
that's
you do.
8 mana total.
That's 8, well, okay, then like 3 for X, and then just put it down and give all total. 3 counters for.
You could, yeah. You can give all 3.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, you can give all 3 if you pay 6 mana for this.
That's 6 mana for all 3, though. You could just play an aura or something.
Yeah. Basically, you're probably better off just playing a different card that gives counters to your creatures, to your commander instead. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, like, you probably are not going to really play this for the most part unless you're playing specifically in a deck that cares about counters and wants to have as many instances of counter.
Where they can like redistribute the counters.
Yeah, cards that give counters. If you're only going to have a handful of cards in your deck that give counters, you're better off just playing a different card instead. Because it's just too much mana. So, just like what Eli mentioned, just giving 3 +1/+1 counters to your commander costs 6 mana.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And this guy will end up just being a 1/1 in that instance too.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything else. He doesn't do anything else either. It's just that. So, yeah, you're just better off playing a different card, unless you're playing a deck that legitimately care about 1/1 counts. And even then, that's kind of iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next up.
Well,
that's it for the green cards. For day one. Next up, we'll talk about white. There's some pretty interesting white cards coming out. So first up, we have this is also one that needs to be translated. This is called Providential Guard Rune. This is an enchantment aura. It is 3 mana, 2 generic, and 1 white. It says you may cast this spell as though it had flash. If it targets a commander, that's actually kind of cool.
That's super neat.
Enchant creature, it's an aura. And all it does is it gives the enchanted creature indestructible.
I really like this. That's just a safe way of just saying, no, I don't want to pay the 2 tax on my commander again. No way.
It's actually pretty good.
That's really decent for a white. I like that a lot.
One thing that I would say that this is one of those instances of power creep, because the fact that there is a card, I forgot what it's called, but I'll pull up on the screen. I believe it does almost the exact same thing, except minus the flash part. Mm-hmm. It costs 4 or 5 mana, and it gives the aura'd creature indestructible as well.
White needs this. White needs this bad.
So this, for 3 mana, this is fantastic.
And flash speed and white.
Yeah,
that's super.
It's creature protection for your commander. Gives indestructible. This is just fantastic.
It'll just fizzle something. And it just wastes, mana. That's just great.
Any sort of unless it's removal that bounces or exiles the creature.
Right.
This will just protect your commander for the most part.
Yep.
So
I totally like this.
This is fantastic for any sort of Voltron type of game plan. Yeah. If you have any sort of commander that people will typically try to remove immediately as soon as it hits the board, this is fantastic for it.
That's just good. It's just good. It's just good.
It's just a good card.
Good white stuff.
Yeah, good card. I don't think there's much we can say about that. So going on to the next card, we have Rebek, Architect of Ascension. It's a legendary creature, human artificer, 3 power, 4 toughness, costs 4 mana for 3 generic and 1 white. And it says artifacts you control have protection from each converted mana cost among artifacts you control, and it has partner.
What do you have protected from each converted mana cost? What does that mean? So all right, so let me explain this real quick. So let's say you have a few rocks on your field. You have Soul Ring, you have Thought Vessel, and Mana Crypt. Okay, so you have a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop artifact on your side of the field. This creature says artifacts you control have protection from each CMC among artifacts you control. So since you have a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop, all 3 of those artifacts have protection from 1-drops, 2-drops, and 3-drops. Oh, that's super neat. That's super neat.
It's pretty interesting.
I like that in white.
It's different. It's almost kind of like white's version of Padim. I'll put Padim up on the screen for those of you that don't know what it is. Do you know what Padim is? Okay, you don't know what Padim is. Padim basically says, I believe it's as long as you control 3 or more artifacts, all of your artifacts have, it's like hexproof, I think. Okay. Hexproof or Shroud, one of the two. So this is like white's version of Padim. And it's the exact same mana cost too. Padim is also 4 mana for mono blue. This is mono white. So honestly, pretty good. Padim is also a legendary creature, so you could play him as a commander. Mm-hmm. This is slightly better though, just because it has partner.
Partner's really good. I like the fact that it's a new interesting protection that I haven't really seen.
Honestly, I think this is slightly better than Padim, because Padim has that specific restriction where you have to have 3 or more in order to get the Shroud or the Hexproof. This is just straight up. They get protection from
an Artifact Matters deck, then it's just now I have protection from literally everything.
Yeah, literally just playing rocks alone gives you protection from those low costing cards, which is very relevant because most removal tend to be low cost like enchantments or instant sorceries.
2 cost, 3 cost.
Yeah, anywhere from like the 1 to 3 cost range, which is covered just from playing rocks alone. She will protect you
And
from
then,
a good
like,
amount of removal.
Literally, you just only play artifacts in this deck, and then all of them have just protection from almost anything.
Yeah, so like literally just playing.
That's really neat. Now I think about it. That's really
Like
cool.
literally just playing Soul Ring alone protects. If you play artifact creatures in the deck, having Soul Ring on your field alone protects you from cards like Swords to Plowshare.
Or even just the bolt. It's just,
or just
it's
Lightning
like,
Bolt.
Yeah. That's just super neat. I like that a lot.
Playing a 2-drop. Playing a 2-drop protects you from any targeted removal from like a non-overloaded Cyclonic Rift.
And that protection applies to creatures too. So if artifact creatures are attacking, they can just go right through them.
Yeah.
So if you had a card that just meant, okay, well now all your artifacts are creatures, or CMC is their power. There's a card that does that. I've seen it before. You just swing out and they can't do anything about it because all of them are protect. That's super cool.
Yeah, it protects. Yeah, it's just.
What was that one card?
It's pretty good.
What was that one card last night that made everything artifacts?
Oh, Mycosith Lattice.
Bro, slap down on the field. She has protection as well.
Yeah.
So literally you can't get rid of it at all.
It's just.
That's super neat.
I
really like that. Wow.
This is low key, can potentially be a busted commander.
That's gonna be a sleeper, I think.
Yeah, definitely gonna be a sleeper. For sure. All right, next up, Seraphic Greatsword.
That looks cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty dope. It's a mono white equipment. So it costs 2 mana, 1 generic and 1 white. Has equipped for 4 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. And it says, whenever a equipped creature attacks the player with the most life or tied for the most life, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking that player.
Equip 4.
This is actually really good.
Explain it to me, because I'm sleeping on it pretty hard.
Mono white has a crap ton of cards that will just slap equipments on an artifact for free. Or on a creature for free. So the equip 4 in an Equipment Matters deck means nothing.
Okay.
Because you can just equip it for free or equip it for a super reduced cost.
Even getting a free angel 4/4.
Yeah, and you just get a 4/4 angel for free like every attack. And it's a 2 mana to drop. So you can play it early turn. Chances are, if you have cards that in an Equipment Matters deck, the equip 4 doesn't really matter because you play it for super cheap.
You play
or for free.
In the Knights.
Yeah, and
Mardu.
that Mardu Knights deck.
Oh, that guy will probably play it definitely in the Knights.
Yeah, like you just get it can be super aggressive in those type of decks that care about equipment. Put this over here.
Yeah.
So this is actually pretty good in the right decks.
I think I'm still sleeping on it a little, but it's a cool card.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that like is only really good if you have the knowledge to know how to which decks to put it in. It's not as good in just any average Joe deck. You can still get some value out of it because it's 4 mana isn't a lot to equip something where you're getting a 4/4 angel every time you're attacking.
If it's though.
And it's coming in tapped and attacking.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good.
Okay.
Still pretty good. And well, keep in mind, only the equipped creature has to attack the person with the most life. All your other creatures can still swing at somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's just the equipped creature has attack. And depending on what your deck is playing like, if you slap it on something with like flying or unblockable or something, or even first strike or death patch where people are probably not going to want to block it in the first place, that's still free angels.
It's on the attack trigger.
Yeah, it's on the attack trigger.
And it's an artifact, so you just slap it on some weak token or whatever and just get the attack trigger and just get an angel on the field.
Exactly. Well, keep in mind you're paying 4 mana. If you're paying the 4 mana for it, you're probably going to want to keep it as something that you know will want
I'm thinking about the Mardu deck. So
you
slap it on like...
If it's for free, you slap it on something for free.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's actually a lot better than you would probably think. Mm-hmm. In a vacuum, it's actually better than average. But in the right decks, it can actually be not broken, but it's like it's up there. It's up there as like this is kind of stupid. All right, so that's it for the white cards. Next up, we have the blue cards.
The blue and red.
Actually, let's do red because there's only 2 red cards.
Okay.
All right. So first up, we have Glowing Soul Steel. I have to pull up the translation for this one too. This is a red artifact equipment. It costs 2 mana, 1 generic, and 1 red. And it says equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each opponent you have. Whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. And the equip cost is 4 mana.
Oh, dude. That's dangerous. I think, well, I'm thinking of you equip it to something just random and then you just like nuke it and then it just redirects.
Yeah.
But then a skill player is gonna counter that. I like how you can redirect stuff to it. I like that a lot. Yourself, like if you're playing just mono red or whatever. You go because you're gonna trash on this card.
No, I'm not gonna trash on this card. I feel like this has a very specific type of use for it.
Definitely.
Off the top of my head, at least, unless there's some broken combo with it that I'm not aware of. Off the top of my head, there's only like a handful of instances where I probably would use it in a deck. First of all, being like if you put in some sort of wall deck, like my Gaybros deck, my Kanaios and Tiros, where like they already have such a massive butt already with 8 toughness that they'll be able to easily chump any like attack that comes their way. All right, so you can equip that to them. So whenever they block something, they just deal that much damage to any target. Doesn't have to be an opponent; it's a target. So I could remove something potentially too.
But do you want to take out one of your cards in there for this? That's the question.
Well, I'm just saying in a vacuum.
Oh, in a vacuum.
I'm not saying in my deck specifically. I'm saying in a vacuum. Okay, like that would be time. So like a wall deck, for instance, where they have big butts. And they can block anything.
Now you're talking.
So like a wall deck, for instance, or you just chump block it, and then you could just all of a sudden just remove some random creature or a planeswalker with low loyalty. So like,
is there cards that let you equip at instant speed?
Yeah.
See, again, that would be interesting. Again, that would be cool.
Those type of cards tend to be white, tend to be mono white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so, Boros is getting some love then.
That's so Boros is getting some love. Another instance where I would consider doing this is on cards like Stuffy Doll or Brash Taunter. Do you know what either of those do?
Stuffy Doll's like right down there.
Yeah, they do exactly the same thing, which is they're indestructible. And didn't pull up. I'll just tell you what it does. Okay, they're indestructible, and whenever they take damage, they deal that much damage to an opponent. Okay. Stuffy Doll lets you be able to ping itself for 1 damage, whereas Brash Taunter lets you.
I know that one does.
Yeah, it lets you fight another creature.
I'm thinking in my head right now.
So having this equipped to those type of cards lets you do like double the damage.
I think right now in my head, like if somehow if you just copy this with like a Mimic Fat or whatever, because it's not legendary, clip it onto Stuffy Doll and another creature, you just go back and forth, and then the damage.
Yeah, so
that's what I would do with this artifact or equipment or whatever. But outside of that, I don't really.
So that's the second usage for this card that I would think about. The third usage is that Boros actually has a ton, or maybe not a ton, but has a good amount of cards that creature cards that say whenever they take damage, they do that much damage back to something else. Okay, this just helps like amplify or double that if you equip it to those creatures. I'll pull up one of those creatures as an example up on the screen. I remember what it looks like in my head. I just don't know the name of it. It's like a 3-drop hybrid Boros creature that does what I just said. Slap this glowing soul steel onto that type of card, and it's just like that's stupid amounts of damage right there. And obviously the fourth type of way I would use this card would be again in like a equipment matters type deck. So just that what was it, Wylith that we just covered earlier in the video, where like it cares about the number of artifacts and equipment, number of equipment and auras attached to it. You draw cards.
Oh, that would just be...
Yeah, and equipment...
It's pseudo-protection because no one wants to really...
If you're playing in a 4-player game, it's automatically +3/+0 just for equipping it. And whenever it does damage, whenever your creature is dealt damage, you deal that much damage back too. So it's like...
I would really just use it as a redirect nuke.
Yeah.
Because that's what my mentality is with it.
I feel like a lot of people are going to automatically deem this card as kind of kind of bad or not that great. When in actuality,
I think it's okay.
if you use it properly, it's actually a lot better than you expect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot better. Keep in mind, it only says when the creature is dealt damage. So that doesn't mean it has to be in combat.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have ways to like ping your own creature, or again with green, there's cards that say this creature fights another creature.
Mm-hmm.
You can use cards like that to force damage out, and then have it do additional damage after fighting too.
Right.
So there's ways you can like finagle
I think it's
around
a cool
it.
card. I don't think it's any. Yeah, I don't think it's really synergistic with a lot of decks, but I think it's a really cool card.
I feel like it can be.
It can be, yeah, but
Yeah.
like it's not like a huge.
Yeah, it's not by a huge margin.
No.
It's what I'm trying to say is that I feel like there's more synergy with this card than people are giving it credit for. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
People like me.
Well, no, not even people like you. I'm saying like even like veteran players are probably gonna just gloss over this card, not seeing like how good it could potentially actually be.
Compared to the one that gives all your artifacts protection from everything.
So, I think it's actually low key a lot better. It's not broken,
No.
but it's still a lot better than people think it is.
That's cool.
Okay, so next up, this is actually one of the cooler cards in my opinion.
Oh, he's a wizard.
He's a goblin wizard. He's a mono red legendary creature goblin wizard, 2 power, 2 toughness. He costs 2 mana for 1 generic and 1 red. And he says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, return that spell to its owner's hand. If you win the flip, copy that spell. And you can choose new targets for the copy. And he also has partner.
When you lose the flip, does it go off and you return it to your hand?
No, it just goes back to your hand.
Oh, okay.
So the spell.
I was like, that's just value either way.
So the spell fizzles and you wasted mana, but it goes back to your hand. But if you win the flip, you get double the value.
I think the copy, and also if you
Keep in mind, it's only a 2-drop.
I think it's just value. I like it. You see a lot of broken shit with Eganart.
There's some broken shit you can do with this card. When you can, take a moment, like later on.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it that made it? I think it was the Magic Historian made a video going over this card specifically. There's actually a lot of lore tied to this guy. Okay. There's a card called, because remember, his name is Clark the Thumbless. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the art, he actually has his thumb as a necklace hanging around his neck.
Let's go.
And there's actually cards about Clark. Okay. One card is called Clark's Thumb. It's a legendary artifact that says it's like, I think it lets you flip double the coins or something like that. Or it lets you redo a flip.
Oh, we play this in like a Rakdos. So cool.
And there's actually an uncard that's called Clark's Other Thumb, which lets you do the same thing but with dice. Okay.
That's super cool.
And there's like an entire lore, and apparently this guy's from Mirrodin. He's like there's like an entire cult around Clark, around like focus around like the center of the core of Mirrodin or something. It's actually a lot cooler than I was expecting. I thought it was just like a fun like little like troll card, but it's actually more in depth than I expected. So whenever you guys have a moment, go check out the Magic Historian's video about Clark the Thumbless. If I remember, I'll leave a link to it in the description below for you to check out.
I'm totally going to. That sounds like a blast.
It's actually pretty cool, but just ignoring that, just gameplay wise, there's actually a lot of cool shenanigans you can pull with this. One card in particular that no one plays, but I always have in my binder because it's just really cool, but I never really find a moment to put it in a deck. But it's one of those cards I want to put in a deck someday. Let me pull it out because it's just so stupid. But it's low key can be pretty good too. So there's actually, now I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of other flipping coin cards that you could abuse with Clark. Okay. Yeah. But one specific card that I own that I've always wanted to put in a deck is called Stitch in Time. It's a 3-drop Is It sorcery card. And it says flip a coin. If you win the flip, take an extra turn.
It is a 3-drop.
It's a 3-drop.
That's awesome.
So it's a double or nothing type of effect. Win the flip, you you take an extra turn. However, with Krark, all right, you actually get if you win the flip with Krark, because when you cast this, Krark triggers first. Okay, if you win the coin flip from Krark's ability, you get a copy of this. And if you happen to win both coin flips for the copy and the original,
3 mana.
Yeah, you get
take 2 turns.
2 extra turns for 3 mana.
Wow.
But
that's really good.
This is that would definitely be one of those interactions that's just completely like it's up to the gods, because the entire thing's dedicated by coin flips.
I think I've seen a Rakdos coin flip deck at some point. I want to build Rakdos at some point when I have the balls to. But Rakdos is so hard to build around.
I feel like at the very least though, with the Stitch in Time
that's
effect,
great.
like you have assuming you win the Krark coin flip. Okay, because luckily it only costs 3 mana, so even if you fail the coin flip, you only win. It's just 3 mana, so it's not like the end of the world.
No.
If you fail the coin flip from Krark, but if you do win the coin flip, you have at least a 1 in 2 chance to get at least one of these abilities off, which is a lot better than just playing it by itself, where you only have a 50-50 chance. So you basically have double the chance to win the coin flip. For just 3 mana, which I think is a pretty cool interaction. Assuming you partner Krark with a blue partner commander. That's the only way you can make it work. But I feel like I might make a Krark deck.
I think you're really hyped about Krark for this one combo.
Well, not just this, but here's the thing with Krark too. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery. Just take my Real deck, for instance, where everything in the deck's like 2 mana or less. I just play a bunch of cheap instant sorceries.
Yeah.
And it's just like I can potentially get double the value if I
you
win
like
the
randomness of it. You like
I like the randomness. The fact he's only a 2-drop though really is what makes him viable. That's the main thing, is that he's only a 2-drop, which makes him viable. So I feel like depending on what other blue partner cards come out in this set, and keep in mind too, you can partner these with the 2-color partner commanders too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can definitely make it an Izzet deck. I feel like Krark could actually be low-key really good. One of those cards that like either once you play him, he either lets you storm off just like 1 or 2 key cards, or he ends up being a dud. It's literally one of those two. It's like either you win or you lose.
You're so excited for Krark. Oh
I just feel like he can actually be really. I don't know. I feel like there's some really fun shenanigans you can do with him. I feel like he's one of those commanders that you're never gonna see anybody play, but when I play him, everyone's like, "Bro, what the fuck?" I don't know if I'll actually make the deck, but he's definitely like up on my list. Where like, if I were to make a deck, this would be a deck I would at least experiment with. Anyways, that was Krark. I spent way more time on this than I thought I was going to.
So did I.
Anyways, we're going to the last section for the day, which is the blue cards for day 1 spoilers.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. So first up is Behemoth of the Abyss. This also I have to translate. This is a creature, Kraken, 7 power, 7 toughness, costs 7 mana, 5 generic, and 2 blue. It says, return a land you control to its owner's hand as part of a cost. Untap Behemoth of the Abyss. It gains hexproof until end of turn. Pretty interesting. Second ability says, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, target creature an opponent controls attacks during its controller's next combat phase if able. It's interesting.
Add 7 mana. Nah. Not feeling it. Not feeling it. It's kind of janky for 7 mana. And the fact that you would return a land to your hand, and it's mono blue.
I'm
skeptical.
I'm a little skeptical too, but probably for different reasons than you.
I'm still on the base front that if you turn a land to your hand, and the effect of the landfall trigger is simply this, just that something has to attack.
I feel like this. Again, I'm always skeptical because I'm not really too sure how good this would be. just because of the fact that second ability is almost like it's kind of like a goad.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference being that the creature that's attacking could attack you.
Right, and it's
Whereas-
probably going to, because
Yeah.
be like, well, fuck.
Whereas goad makes it so that they can't attack you if able.
Yeah.
So if it said goad instead, then I think okay, it's actually a lot better.
Yeah,
Especially in a landfall deck
Mm-hmm.
where you can get multiple triggers of this in the same turn, it could actually be pretty good.
Cause chaos.
Yeah, it could actually be pretty good. But because it's not actually goad, and they could attack you instead of an opponent, that makes it kind of risky. The self-protection, I think, is interesting because it kind of guarantees that you'll have that land drop to get the pseudo gold ability. Yeah, I feel like it's not as good as it could be. So I feel like it could be something worth testing in a deck that could take advantage of it, but
I just don't see a win coming with this deck.
it's still weird. Yeah, it's so.
It's okay. It looks fun, but I think as a funsies deck would be nice. But other than that, nah.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled. I think it could be something worth testing. Just at least out from what's it called? First impression. I'm not too thrilled about it. Anyways, next card we have Brinolin, the Moon Kraken.
He looks so cool.
Yeah, he looks kind of massive. He's a legendary creature Kraken. So we have a legendary Kraken for mono blue. I think we have a couple more actually already. He costs 8 mana, 6 generic mana, and 2 blue. He has 6 power, 8 toughness, and he says when Brenolin, the Moon Kraken, enters the battlefield, or whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, you may return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand and as partner.
I see Simic Big Ramp and playing huge spells.
Yeah,
and just destroying the board.
You would have to play Simic for this to
Because, like, that's 8 mana. And I think Simic has the best spell combo, and ramp that can just get you to that stage on turn 5 or so.
Yeah, you kind of have to be playing Simic to take advantage of this. Not only to reach his mana cost, but to also get the 6 or greater, which is green. That's a very green thing.
That's a green thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's super cool. What I'm thinking right now is that I don't know if you can pop off really with him.
Yeah, I don't think you could
you
either.
You have to achieve infinite mana really quickly and then just drop your hand.
Yeah, unless you play something like Omniscience where you can just dump. You can just dump a bunch of big drops on the field or something.
He looks like a Slifer the Sky Dragon.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. He seems fun. He seems cool.
Yeah.
I like big stuff decks, but I'm not sure if he'd be like really good in synergistic decks.
I feel like he'd be more of like the support of the two partner commanders.
Like once you get it going, then you just go, okay, when I'm gonna lay this big guy.
Yeah,
down,
he's icing on the cake. He's not really the main focus, but like if you happen to bust him out, then like all right,
it's like now I can have fun.
Yeah, it's like it's cool. So
he's neat.
It would completely depend on what the other partner is.
Definitely.
All right, next card. We have Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro. I don't even know I think I butchered that.
I think you did too.
Anyways, it's a mono blue legendary creature, Pirate Spirit.
Okay.
Costs 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue. It has 2 power, 3 toughness. Has partner, and it says Ghost of. I'm just calling him de Pietro.
Ghost boy.
Yeah, Ghost Boy. Can't be blocked by creatures with toughness 3 or greater.
That's interesting.
That's actually pretty cool.
I like those abilities.
Second ability says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, choose up to 1 card in any graveyard that has been discarded or milled this turn. Put that card in its owner's hand.
Huh. I thought it was going to be like, put the card into your battlefield. And I was like,
yeah,
holy shit.
I thought it was going to be something like that too.
Oh, well. Oh, and now it's just kind of.
I mean, if you're playing a mill deck, actually it depends. It says discarded or milled. I could
see because it's put a card into its owner's hand. I'm like, okay, well,
it's
now
interesting.
I'm thinking Voltron because
it's
then
interesting
blocked.
because I could technically put this type of card in like my Riel the Everwise deck, for example, where I'm just discarding my whole hand turn after her.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
And then I just smack you once with this, and I can grab a card that I just discarded back to my hand. So...
Okay. That seems fine with that.
Yeah, or if I'm playing a mill deck, and I happen to mill myself along with everybody else, and I smacked you with this, I can grab one of the cards I just milled back. So, like, in those type of decks... It's actually not that bad. It's pretty decent. And it's only 3 mana. Chances are it's pseudo unblockable. It'll be chumped by weaklings, maybe like tokens or something. But for the average creature...
On your real deck, you have Menace, because you have a bunch of auras.
Wait, what?
You have a ton of auras in your real deck, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why you slap it with
I only have a handful.
Yeah, you don't want to waste it with those.
Yeah, they're meant to protect Real.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's being a figurehead at all, but definitely in your mill deck.
Yeah.
Put this in there. It's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna swing at this at you.
Yeah, I think it's a nice card to support discarding or mill strategies. I wouldn't complain if I saw someone put this in their deck for those type of strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be pretty decent. Your deck would have to be like mass milling or mass discarding pretty often though to make this get the value you would want though.
Because it's that turn. That's
it's only that turn.
If it was just discarded or milled in general, then it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, you could have more options.
If it was just a card in a graveyard, that'd make it much better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. It's cool.
I think it's pretty decent. Oh wait. Oh well, okay, it's mine. Yeah, so I personally would have this in the 99.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, of course.
Unless some other partners come out in this set that you could actually put that
unless there's
partner
a combo that we're not thinking
Yeah,
of.
unless there's some partner combo that comes up, I think it's better in the 99 for those type of strategies. Next up, we have Mnemonic Deluge. It's a 9-drop blue sorcery. Art looks sick.
Very sick.
It looks very cool. 9 mana, costs 6 generic and 3 blue. It's a mythic sorcery. It says,
wow.
It says exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Copy that card 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying their mana cost. And then you exile Mnemonic Deluge.
That is something.
This is easily one of those like game-ending type cards.
Oh, if you cast that, you're just one extra turn spell. All you need. I mean, or anything really. That's why I default to it as blue.
It's not even to take extra turn cards. Like imagine in my wheel decks. Okay, like imagine if I was playing Niv Mizzet, Perun, or the Firemind as my commander, and I exile Wheel of Fortune from my graveyard with this.
Use Wheel
easily, at least 21 damage. At least just from that, and that's not counting if I have like Teferi's Ageless Insight or Alhemerit's Archive on the field that double the amount of cards I draw.
Whenever you discard it, ping someone because there's something that does that.
Yeah, that let me draw double cards, basically. Mm-hmm. That's not counting any cards that let me draw double cards.
Wow.
So this...
That's just good for that. It's good for any card, man.
Wow. Well, instant sorcery. That's the exile instant sorcery.
Instant sorcery. Yeah, that's what I
mean. But yeah, any sort of instant sorcery that's like a key card in your deck, especially if you're playing like an Izzet deck or something, or a Grixis deck or something.
Grixis. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And if you're playing any sort of deck where you have like really key instant sorceries that help you win the game, not taking extra turn cards into account, this easily can like just help you win the game if you exile it from your graveyard.
Extra turn cards, that just completely wins. Okay. I mean, there are some that they can take 2 and you pay a fuck off amount of mana cost, and you just pay this? Oh my god.
Imagine if I made you mill as someone's expropriate.
That should go.
And then you use this to cast 3 expropriates from your grave.
Yeah, it's from a grave. That should go in your mill.
Oh, from a graveyard.
It's from a grave.
Oh,
that
crap.
Should go in your mill.
That's not it. Oh my god. That's
I
actually.
I saw that. Oh wow.
That's way better than I expected. I didn't even realize that.
Bro, 9 mana? Nah, that's not even thought of.
Oh.
That's going in your mill. That's easy.
Yeah, that's going in my mill deck.
Oh, wow.
That's gross.
That's terrible.
That's really gross.
That's definitely something that...
Ooh.
Oh, wow. That's 3 times. And without paying their mana cost at all.
Oh my god. I can only imagine shenanigans you could pull off with this. This is almost like an instant sorcery version of a Clever Impersonator, but for graveyards.
I once heard that
gross.
like if you ever like have a card that says copy X amount of times or pay without mana costs, that's instantly a sign that you're really ahead if you get that off. Just having both those words in there, that is oh my god.
That's pretty good. I'm actually
a graveyard.
Yeah.
A graveyard.
It's actually way better than I was expecting. Siren Storm Tamer. This is actually a reprint. Okay. I put this up here specifically because of the fact that personally, for any of you guys watching the video, this is like a staple card in my opinion that should go in a good portion of any deck that has blue that has a commander that people consider as threatening.
I would.
Just straight up.
Since it's a wizard.
It's a wizard.
I would love putting that in.
It's a wizard. It's a pirate. It's a flying creature. It's a 1-drop, most importantly. And in case, I'll read it real quick. Siren Storm Tamer, it's a 1-drop for 1 blue. For the creature type, it's a Siren Pirate Wizard. It's a 1/1 creature with flying. But most importantly, what really matters is that to pay 1 blue mana and sacrifice Siren Storm Tamer, you can counter target spell or ability that targets you, the player, or a creature you control. So the main thing worth playing, and I have these in my decks. This is such a fantastic card. I personally think people should play this card more often. Not only because of how easy it is to play it, it just easily protects you and your stuff. So imagine, for instance, if you had, in that game you were playing with my Gabros deck.
Right, I would just completely... Yeah. I was looking for a card that countered abilities, and it wasn't in there.
Yeah, if the opponent has something like the...
Aetherflux Reservoir.
Aetherflux Reservoir on the field.
And it does 50 damage.
And they try to shoot you for 50 damage. You just need to pay 1 blue and sack the Siren Storm Tamer to counter that ability, so they can't kill you with it.
So in Anala, whenever you play down a wizard, you can pay 1 and get a token copy of that wizard. It gets exiled at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would put this thing down, get a copy, and that's 3 mana, and to have 2 in reserve for the sacrifice effect, and then that would be insurance for that turn, so I could then storm off. I would then play my what is the extra turn one?
I know what you're talking about.
I would play my extra turn wizard, and then I would play my Naban, and I would play other stuff. And then if anyone tried to do anything, I would simply just counter it.
Yeah.
That's the one in my deck, definitely. That's super good.
Even if you're not playing some sort of wizard tribal deck, like any
No, it's just good in blue.
It's just a good card, period.
It's a 1-drop counter.
Especially like we were mentioned before, because of how fast the format has been getting recently. This is the type of card that helps guarantee the safety of at least your commander. And sometimes in niche situations helps protect you, the player, in case they decide to target you, the player, for whatever effect. Like, for example, Black has a lot of cards that say target player discards whatever amount of cards. That will help protect you. In case of Aetherflux Reservoir, protects you against that.
It's spell or ability.
Yeah,
that's
it's spell or
really
ability.
Good about
is someone, if you're a deck that cares about your graveyard, if someone Bajuka Bogs you, you can counter Bajuka Bog with this ability, because it does have to target a player for Bajuka Bog.
It's just it's just the spell or ability, man. Ability is really the key word there. I like that a lot.
It really, really counters a lot more things than you would take into consideration. So the fact that we're reprinting it, it's not a hard card to get in the first place. Let me point that out. But the fact that it gets reprinted helps, in my opinion, give it more access to more players.
It's a smart reprint.
It helps bring it to the forefront of people's minds to be like, ooh, maybe I should put that in my deck. Because realistically, you should, in my opinion.
Because that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm totally going to grab that.
Yeah, it's a really good card. It's a really good card. Next up, we only have 2 cards. No, actually, we have 1 card left for the video before we end today's video.
We have one.
That's a folder. So we just got 1 card left. We have Sphinx of the Second Sun. It costs 8 mana. It's a mono blue creature Sphinx with 6 power, 6 toughness.
I've heard about this.
It costs 6 generic mana and 2 blue. Has flying. And it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you get an additional beginning phase after this phase. So For those of you that don't know what the beginning phase is, the beginning phase counts as your untap step, your upkeep, and your draw step. So what this card does is after your combat phase, okay, and you enter your second main phase, before you actually take your second main phase on your turn, you actually get another untap step, another upkeep step, and another draw step. So realistically, with this in the field, if you spend all your mana on your first main phase, on your second main phase, you'll untap all your stuff. Actually, all your creatures too that attacked.
You tap everything, yeah.
You untap everything. So you practically get like double mana. You get another upkeep for any upkeep triggers you might happen to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you get to draw another card as part of another draw step.
I'd love to put this in my Alola.
This is actually pretty gross.
This is good. Like,
this is really good.
Blue.
Yeah, this is really good.
Just because you get the additional upkeep too. That's really good because a lot of cards have upkeep triggers, and
Yeah.
so the first upkeep trigger is really good. But having it twice per turn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So for any of you who might have been keeping up with Standard, for example, there's a card called Wilderness Reclamation, which says at your end step, untap all your lands. It's a 4-mana green enchantment. It's really broken because basically you can spend all your mana on your turn, and then at the end of the turn, all your lands get untapped, and you can just hold them up. So that way you can have instant speed interactions with your opponent on their turn. This basically kind of does the same thing, except slightly better because it untaps all your stuff, not just your lands.
Mm-hmm.
And you get another upkeep for upkeep triggers, and you get another draw step.
It is 8/8, or it is 8 mana, but it's a 6/6 flyer too.
Yeah, chances
it's not
are
going to be removed.
Chances are you can easily get this out sooner too, either through cheating out somehow, or obviously if you're playing green, you can ramp it out quicker. So there's
and a Simic. Oh god, that would be so nasty.
there's easily ways you could abuse this card.
Yeah,
for sure. It remains to be seen what kind of shenanigans people end up doing with this. But definitely, there's definitely going to be ways you can abuse this for sure. So I'm in a way excited, but kind of not excited for this card.
They gotta have hexproof or anything. Good God.
Yeah, it doesn't have any protection, so which is nice. But all right, other than that, that's gonna be it for day one's spoilers, guys. It's kind of a long video, I know. I apologize, but we did have a lot to go through. The next few videos for the next few days shouldn't be nearly as long because not nearly as many cards came out. But other than that, what were your thoughts about the first day's spoilers?
The reprints are really good. Vampiric Tutor's still in my mind. I like that it's being reprinted because that card is really stupid. White's getting love. Boros is getting love, really.
Yeah, I think that's really nice.
I think that's really the takeaway.
Those two colors specifically are getting a lot of love.
Blue got some love in the form of those last two cards, which are dummy. But man, Boros is getting a lot of love, and it's evening them out because when I see a Boros player, I really pity them. Unless they're playing Feather, then Feather's just like, okay, well. Yeah. But Boros getting love, and then Green didn't get a lot of love because they already have so much good stuff. You just make a green good stuff deck, and you're already set. Yeah. My favorite card though, gotta be that Angel, dude. That Orzhov Angel. I'm serious. I'm gonna scrap Edgar. I love him, but that Angel, when she comes out, that's gonna be
she's gonna be nasty.
She's super cool.
I would not doubt it if she ends up being a staple
I think
commander,
she will be.
like a popular commander.
Really good set though. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so far for just day one spoilers, it's
just
pretty
day
good.
One. It's just day
pretty
one.
good. It's just day one too.
So excited. Why?
Yeah, like we're kind of making this video a little late because it's already day 3 and the spoilers. We're making this video.
We're gonna try through it.
You haven't seen some of the other black cards that come out that are kind of broken.
I'm kind of a fan of white black, honestly, so I'm super excited.
I'm not looking forward to it because I know I'm gonna end up playing against it. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's just broken. Anyways, though, wait, do you have something else to say?
No, it's just good set, really good set.
All right. So other than that, that's going to be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, the podcast episode. We'll be having more of these come out in the next couple of days or so. If you enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe to the channel. It really mean the world to me. Go ahead and leave me a comment down below about some of the cards in this video you were really excited about because
They're all real interesting.
there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. Anything else you might happen to be looking forward to as well. But go ahead and check me out on social media as well. I'll be leaving descriptions down below for you to check out. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.
I guess.
Peace, y'all.